hear my voice, step to the nearest speaking tube this instant. This is Lector Naril talking to you through this speaking tube. I had such high hopes for you, Sherazar. Why do you defy me? I see. And does this have to do with the endeavors of the Wellspring? I suppose I can't fault you for your initiative and willingness to get right to work. I just wish you would have waited before you presented yourselves to my other apprentices. Prohibited? That's a harsh word. No, we don't have any restrictions in the Wellspring. But Sherazar will have a better understanding of how things work here once she returns to me and completes her orientation and training. Did he? My workshop isn't restricted, it's just private. You must see the necessity for a space of my own. No matter. Finish your task and we can discuss this in more detail. I have impressive plans for you and my new apprentice.
Interruptions are counterproductive. The 7th law of Gears teaches us that. Well, since you've already distracted me, you might as well tell me what you want. Idrono. His experiment was doomed from the beginning. You can't grow plants without a source of nourishing light. My plants thrive thanks to the use of Lector Naril's simulated sunlight. But I wasn't informed we were getting new apprentices. That was the practice until Gathal died. Then the Lector sealed his private workshop and gave us these experiments to conduct while he perfected his simulated sunlight. It makes our annual harvest possible. If there were other apprentices, I'd know. I suppose Lector Naril could have more apprentices toiling in his private workshop. He keeps numerous secrets, so what's a few more? You can enter the workshop through the busted vent over there. Ignorance of his rules might grant you some leeway. Lector Naril's private workshop is restricted, but I don't expect you to find anything. If he catches you snooping around, feign ignorance and beg forgiveness. What's the worst he could do? I suppose he could turn you into plant food. Lector Naril is one of the most respected clockwork apostles currently operating within Lord Set's great experiment. Every novice wants to become his apprentice, and every sentient in the Brass Fortress hopes to partake of his bountiful harvests. That's a long and complicated tale. The short form is that he was one of Sotha Seal's most trusted warrior scholars. When our great master abandoned the Wellspring for other endeavors, Naril stepped in to fill the gap. He's been here ever since. An unfortunate factotum accident happens occasionally. Sometimes the poor contraptions just get overheated and explode. That's why I prefer to work at a significant distance from the machines. Say, a good 30 paces or thereabouts.
I'm very disappointed, Sherazar. Shirhari's plaque of safe passage has been rendered inoperable. Now, return to me immediately.
Lector Naril's a clockwork apostle. He must keep meticulous notes. We need to examine them. the story of how the Everwound Wellspring was created. Lector Narl picked up where Sotha Seal left off. The early experiments failed, even though Lector Narl perfected his alchemical solution. I wonder how they solved the problem. I never knew what went into making the Wellspring work. I wonder how they finally got the simulated sunlight to nourish the plants. The source of the simulated sunlight is the life force of the missing apprentices? That's horrible. We need to see what's inside Narl's private workshop. That machine! Is that the inductor? The apprentices! It sucked the life out of them! This is the Lector's simulated sunlight inductor. And just as we read in his notes, he's using the life force of the most recent apprentices to power the device. Sotha Seal would never approve of this. Never in a million clicks of the Great Gear. No. If we leave, Lector Narl will just use Shirhari or one of the others. We have to do something. We have to stop this madness. People shouldn't be turned into plant food. At least not while they're still healthy and vibrant. It's not natural.
So now you know the secret of the Wellspring. You see your role in our grand plan. Time is short. The life force of the previous apprentices is nearly depleted.
Why do you resist? Your life force can feed thousands! You lash out because you fail to grasp the importance of what I do.
There's nothing to be done for these poor apprentices. The inductor has drained every drop of life from their bodies. But what of Lector Narl? He cloaks his evil in good intentions. The Lector lied. He tricked the apprentices and killed them. But the machine does allow the plants to grow and provides food for the Clockwork City. I wonder, what if someone willingly sacrificed themselves to feed the people? Yes, one life a season in exchange for a bountiful harvest. What could be more noble than sacrificing your life to feed the hungry? And I'll continue to work with the remaining apprentices. Maybe we can find another way. Someday.
How horrible! Those apostles, all dead?
Not just dead. Drained of life to create the simulated sunlight.
Still, it's an amazing device. Lecter Gnarl's a true genius.
A genius? Look at this, Gnarl's insane!
Gnarl's dead, but the promise of the wellspring lives on.
You're not suggesting we continue to kill people?
We call for volunteers. Use their sacrifices while we continue to work on finding a different source of power.
How noble. I assume we won't be the ones volunteering this time.
Sherazar has the right idea, and I offer myself as the first sacrifice.
Idrono, no!
It's only logical. I'm an apprentice whose experiments never worked out. Allow me to contribute in another way.
Very well. Let's go make the necessary preparations.
One death to avoid many. This one still doesn't like how this all turned out. Please leave the sequence plaques where they are. I've just started organizing them, and I don't want you mucking about and undoing my hard work.
I just don't know. I always expected Clockwork City to be a bit more hospitable.
We need not the grease of luxury to find our sequence here.
Still, you never tire of it? The smell of oil or the taste of gruel?
Your mind must become a gear, a single constant winding in perfect regulation. Do not let such thoughts rust.
That's true, I suppose. No use crying over spilt milk.
By the word, I wind the gears. Please state your business or depart. I am a factotum, a mechanized servitor automaton bound to the Clockwork City. My functions include city maintenance, record keeping, commerce, hospitality, and basic civil defense. Just a moment. Current inventory of 7th generation factotums equals 946 active partitions, with an additional 6,400 partitions stored in Cognitum archives. Lord Set revises factotum source material and partition frames regularly. 6 generations preceded the current model. All additional information pertaining to factotum source material and fabrication is restricted. Thank you for your interest. Combat protocols on standby. Dreaming. Storm clouds. Wind.
I didn't travel all the way to this mechanical bemusement simply to see the sights. I have a mission to perform. If you'll excuse me, I'm much too busy to talk to you.
It's wondrous, isn't it? Elegant, meticulous, timeless. I once took joy in studying the perfection of this realm, but now every revolution of the great gear only tightens the vice in my chest. Tell me, are you here to unravel Lord Set's mysteries? Then may I impose on you as a fellow seeker. For all my learning, I can think of no escape from my predicament, save one. An experiment performed by one of my order, for which she was cast out from the Clockwork Apostles. I need you to find her. Terere Helladrin was ahead of her time. It was fear that led to her expulsion, not reason. I see that now. Please find her. Tell her I'll make it right if she'll save my life. There is no one among the Order I can turn to. She is my only hope. Terere has been gone a very long time, but her ill-fated experiment created a persistent disorder in the grand schema. Its motions are chaotic, but not entirely unpredictable. Following it may provide some clue to her whereabouts. We were some of Tamriel's best and brightest magi, invited to the Clockwork City by Sothasil to attend his experiments and learn from the greatest mind in creation. We have been left to our own devices for a long time. Order was needed. Regulation. We believed she was meddling with forces that were solely the domain of the Clockwork God. A backward, emotional response one might expect from followers of a less enlightened deity. Destroying her notes and shunning her ideas was shameful. Terere's ambitious experiment resulted in a factotum going haywire. It reduced portions of the brass fortress to shambles before taking its rampage off into the reactor district. We record its movements by analyzing the destruction in its wake. Age, Seeker. Too many grains from the hourglass have gathered in this humble body. They've worn its workings so thin. I don't think it will be long before I join the inert. But I'm not ready. There's still so much to see.
All are welcome here. Lord Set made this city to share. You may have to repeat your order. I'm having a hard time grasping words today.
I heard you helped the Deep Crag miners. That was mighty brave of you.
Combatants needed for a perilous task. Please respond for more information.
How dare you, Kermit? Your mother wanted a better future for you.
Because a factotum with delusions of grandeur told her fortune. Do you really believe that?
She believed it. Why can't you see?
See what? That following the predictions of a deluded machine got my mother killed? I'll prove the prognosticator is a fraud. See if I don't!
Please, unless you have gold to spare or something other than paste to eat, just leave me alone.
That display of emotion isn't indicative of the people of Slagtown. Carmid lost his mother in the last pilgrimage, and that's made him angry at the world. He has a point, though. Dreams and prophecies can be dangerous things. Once every season, the most brave and desperate members of our community make the journey to request a fortune from the Grand Prognosticator. Not everyone receives a prediction, but many have died hoping to have their destinies changed. An oracle of sorts. It's an unusual factotum with a penchant for the mystical and the dramatic. I fear Carmid plans to do something foolish and dangerous. Perhaps you'd be willing to go to the Outlaw's Refuge and talk to him? Keep him safe? Thank you, my friend. My old bones aren't up to another adventure, but I owe it to Carmid's mother to do whatever I can to keep him safe. The Grand Prognosticator spits out fortunes the way a sawmill spits out lumber. All the same until one isn't. More or less. Something about abject poverty and a miserable existence. But every once in a great while, the factotum provides a different prophecy. I received such a fortune when I made my pilgrimage so many years ago. A fortune of hope, of riches beyond my wildest dreams. It spoke of a way to escape this life, but I wasn't brave enough to heed the prognosticator's words. Carmid calls the oracle a fraud. Maybe so, but even a cracked egg sometimes contains a squib.
My steeds are lovely creatures. They have a spirit, not like those machines that run around the city.
Don't worry. I won't quote scripture to you. After all, it seems Lord Set's wisdom is unappreciated by most auxiliaries.
Hello, my friend. It's so good to see you again. Wish I had more time to talk, but my current tasks have me very busy. Us initiates never seem to have a moment to spare. Yes, my plan worked perfectly, thanks to you. Once I got my report into the right hands, I was immediately offered a position. They even put me in charge of continuing repairs. Our time together really opened my eyes. I realized how integral you were to my initial success. Not every task can be accomplished alone, after all. So, when I began having trouble maintaining the halls, I sought the guidance of the Apostles. The Apostles may be wise, but they severely lack common sense sometimes. They'd rather tinker with deadly machines than study the regulation of their own water supply. It seems that everyone was either unlearned or simply uninterested in maintenance. And I happily accepted. My current project is understanding why the repair factotums refuse to continue maintenance. Once I have them functioning properly, all should be well. In the meantime, we'll need volunteers to provide needed upkeep.
And just as I promised, my assistant arrives. You brought a gift for our sponsor, right? You did bring a gift, correct? Give it to Varuni without delay.
Greeting, Auxiliary. Is your friend correct? Did you bring an offering? Fire Patwell. Tremendous. And you managed to keep all 10 fingers. I'm impressed. Thank you. Now, to the matter of your citizenship. You're clearly a capable warrior, but in the Clockwork City, mental precision is of paramount importance. A number of outsiders have gone missing in recent weeks. I fear someone might be abducting them, or worse. But I have no proof. I spoke to your friend Naramo, and he insists you can gather the evidence I need. Succeed, and I'll sponsor you all. Try to keep this inquiry quiet, all right? In the Clockwork City, even a small creak in the gears can draw curious eyes. Provost Varuni Arvel, ranking Disquisitor in the Congress of Calibration. Before you ask, yes, I'm a bit young for such a tenurial position. Fortunately, Lord Set established a true meritocracy here. One day, I'll get a chance to thank him. Bet. No, Lord Set's far too busy. He only recently emerged from seclusion in the Cognitum Centralis. He's addressed the Congress, but I haven't had an opportunity to present myself. You should be thoroughly prepared when you meet a god, right? Of course. Lord Set, known to many as Sotha Seal, is the father of curiosity. By his word, we create, perfect, and overcome. He cares for all of us, just as a clockmaker cares for each gear and spring. Every piece matters, no matter how small. I do a lot of reading. It's all there in the sermons. Some people think he's aloof, callous even, but I disagree. He stands with us in a way that Vivek and Alma Lexia never could, and he'll guide us all to a better world. Very little, which is more problematic than it sounds. Any loose cog can carry out an abduction. It doesn't take a criminal mastermind to throw someone down a drain pipe. What worries me is that none of it was recorded by factotums or sentry coils. We record what happens everywhere. Honestly, I don't know how you exodromals do without. You lose so much in Tamriel. Knowledge, memories, and you must argue incessantly. Everything that happens here is fact, documented and verifiable. Exodromal. Sorry, I forget how strange our words sound to foreign ears. Anyone who enters the Clockwork City from the outside world is known as an exodromal, since they come from beyond the Celestiodrome, the glass sphere you'd call our sky. I know, but secrets are the purview of Lord Set, and Lord Set alone. I have nothing to hide. The sermons tell us that only the disassembled engine can be scrubbed and made clean. Knowledge requires light, openness, collaboration, you see?
So, ready to do a bit of sleuthing? I'm confident that we can find this elusive evidence, but it will require some skullduggery. Breaking and entering, to be specific. Ready for the details? Varuni suspects that someone destroyed city records. But if my study of Dwemer ruins has taught me anything, it's that nothing is ever truly destroyed. You just need to look in the right place. Here, that place is the Depository Documatus. Sneaking into the depository is impossible for us, but Sothasil's clockwork automata enter and exit the structure constantly. I discovered a way to control one such automata, a device known as a skivaton. I am sure you're duly impressed. No, you are. I will provide technical assistance and keep an eye out for prying eyes, both mechanical and organic. Head to the depository. I'll meet you there, after I've wrapped up matters with our new benefactor. If you have questions, you should ask them now. Once we begin our investigation, we'll have little time to dawdle. As Varuni said, everything here generates a record. From what I gather, those records constantly pass through the Depository Documatus. When you say it like that, it does sound daunting. It's true. The evidence we seek drifts through vast oceans of information. Luckily, these skivatons seem very capable when it comes to sorting and parsing. I guess we'll just have to find out. I equipped the skivaton with a number of key words and concepts to help it sort out extraneous documents. Have some faith. I've extracted information from tonal vaults and Dwemer orreries. Sifting through city records pales in comparison. Honestly, they're not all that dissimilar from the Dwemer devices I usually tinker with. Sothasil clearly learned a great deal from the dwarves. They use an unfamiliar tonal dialect, as it were, but the basic principles remain the same. We will employ a very simple control device. How to explain it? The skivatons send and receive signals from other clockwork automatons constantly. This device allows us to drown out all the noise, making our voices the only sound it hears.